Hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth element of Ascended Worlds Worthiness class. Today is all about feeding and nourishment. I've been so excited to do this one because it's something I probably struggled with my entire life and not really understanding what I was even struggling with. I'm assuming you've done your workbook, or else you wouldn't be here yet. So, in reading the prompt, I feed and nourish myself easily. Feeding and nourishing myself is a priority over feeding and nourishing others. That's a good one, especially as a caregiver, whether it's a parent or a child that you're caring for. I enjoy feeding and nourishing myself. I am allowed to be fully nourished. There's so much here. There's so much here. I feed and nourish myself easily. That's never been something that I embraced very well. I always looked at food and consuming like that as a necessary evil, not something that was a positive for me. I really didn't want to make it a priority. I didn't want to make the time. And I see that now when I observe that and pull apart that whole behavior, is that it was coming down to an understanding of worthiness and how, in order for me to be the best I could be in this embodiment, the alignment with nourishing myself was important. And I totally missed that. It was kind of by default that things happened for me growing up. And I never, until recently, understood that whole process. And I always made others a priority simply because I was not a priority and I wasn't worthy of that nourishment and worthy of that attention to myself. I know it seems to be a natural pattern with caregivers. And I raised my children and they were the priority, and as soon as I kind of got to the end of that, it was my parents, and then that was the priority. And it was always easier for me to nourish and feed them over myself. I could never come over, make that leap over the hump of, I will nourish myself so that I can then nourish others. And that is such a key. That is such a key. It's the oxygen, a whole oxygen mask thing. I nourish myself so that then I'm able to nourish others. And when I was growing up, I always heard the phrase, not growing up, but actually when I had kids, that overwhelmed parents have overwhelmed kids. Well, unnourished parents have unnourished kids. That or whatever you're caring for, whether it's pets or parents or siblings, whomever you're nourishing. I never really enjoyed nourishing myself because I never looked at it from that perspective of what I was actually doing. I never understood that. I never got the concept that this is more than nourishing. This is more than what's my favorite food. This is more than what it is that I'm craving right now. This is actually nourishing such a big part of me. And I think that a lot of people who suffer or choose eating disorders, this is an origin for them. So coming to that place of enjoying feeding and nourishing yourself is rooted in that worthiness to nourish yourself. It becomes such a different process once you understand that it's not just consuming, and it's not just, food in, energy out. It's so much more of a nourishment, and allowing yourself to embrace that full nourishment. And I'm convinced the way energy works is, as you consume the food and you understand and you set the intention for the vibration of that food to nourish you, it almost doesn't matter what the food is. As long as it's with the intention that this is going to nourish me, And that's such a key here in nourishing yourself, whether it's I nourish myself through a nice bath, or I nourish myself through a vacation, or I nourish myself through meditation. I nourish myself through eliminating negative relationships in my life. I nourish myself through speaking my truth, living my authenticity. There are so many ways to nourish yourself that aren't food based. And as we start to understand that our lack of making the nourishment a priority stems from unworthiness in that area, it starts to really unravel things that our beliefs or our thoughts or our understandings of what we're creating for ourselves. So it's really critical here to look beyond the food, look beyond the cravings, look beyond the having to run around and nourish other people. It all comes back to the nourishment begins here. And in aligning with the worthiness to nourish yourself, again, like everything else, you get to that place where your nourishment naturally overflows to nourishing others. And clearing out any hesitations or blocks or resistance to nourishing yourself gets us a long way down that road to allowing it to nourish those around us so much easier and so much more effortlessly. And the reward and nourishment we receive back again is nourishing. And it makes such a nice cycle when we can get to that place of nourish myself, nourish others, which then nourishes myself. And it creates that beautiful flow. So, keeping all that in mind, let's look at our creation statement. I am worthy to remember how to and allow myself to nourish and feed myself as a priority above and beyond everything and everyone else. And that last part is really critical to getting that priority in line. So let's sit back, close our eyes, and take that deep breath and align with that vibration, the vibration of that statement as our truth. Okay, one last deep breath. Come back to the room and open your eyes when you're ready. That was great. I saw a line of all the people I've been nourishing other than myself, and I saw the line reorder to where everyone became their top priority to nourish themselves. And that made everybody top in the line, which was perfect. So our post-video affirmation, I am worthy to be fed and nourished. How perfect is that? Make that your nourishment, that you are worthy to nourish yourself. How perfect is that? Thanks for spending these few minutes with me today, and I look forward to seeing you on our next element together. Thank you.